What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're here today with another team mock draft. We get the Browns. Should be a pretty fun draft today, just because so many top picks. Four top 100 picks, and then 5 more picks after that. So 9 picks coming at you. Pretty big. Pretty straightforward with the needs. Offensive line, wide receiver. I don't think QB is a huge need unless you're going late. Like maybe a Cade Klubnik, a Drew Aller. Get a guy who can just come into the room and like compete. Not a guy who's going to come into the room and be like, oh, this is the definite starter. I think the Browns need to build a team around their future quarterback, whether that's Shador going forward or a guy next year potentially, or even a guy in this draft. Another thing, I do believe that they should draft a corner to go and potentially replace Denzel Ward going forward, and just be a guy who can go into that room so they can keep that DB room cheaper, considering they are paying Myles Garrett so much money. Maybe bring in an edge rusher as well, or a defensive tackle. With all things being said, let's get into the mock draft. Alrighty. Coming up to pick 6 here. Do we take a 2 pick drop? That would be, you know what? With everything that's on the board, could go Carnell Tate. Could go Maui Goa. Could go Monroe Freeling. Could go Makai Lemon. I think getting that future second, especially in next year's draft, is going to be very valuable. So we're going to accept that. They jump up for Carnell Tate. Carolina trying to make a big push. That would make sense for Jeremiah Love. Now, I just think that's too far of a jump backwards for the Browns. Offensive line wise, there's Fano, who I am very high on just because of his ability to play multiple positions on the offensive line, which is really what the Browns need. Browns have brought in pieces. They definitely have brought in some good pieces on their offensive line this offseason. They brought in Titus Howard. They brought in Zion Johnson. And I'm forgetting one other guy. But they have a base for the next couple years for this offensive line. And I think getting a guy like Fano fits in with that. So we'll go with Spencer Fano. He can play center, he can play guard, he can play tackle for you. Whatever you need him to play, he can play it. And he is willing to. So now, coming up on pick 24, I think a big need here. I don't see those actually happening. We're going to look at the best available. Kenyon Sadiq is on the board. Kenyon Sadiq is still here at 24. Looking at wide receivers, Casey Concepcion. You also have pick 39, so I think you can get a valuable wide receiver there. Not going to take quarterback, not going to take running back. Could this be a spot for another offensive lineman? Yes, it definitely could be. But now looking at the defense, I'm not in love with these corners at this early. I mean, Brandon Sisse would be a great pick, but I just don't see it for the Browns. Edge rusher wise, no. Safety wise, Emmanuel McNeil Warren, no. I gotta take Sadiq here. I think that will give you a lot of, first off, Todd Monken is coming into this Browns team. Todd Monken loved running 2 tight ends. He had Mark Andrews and he had Isaiah Likely. Now you have Harold Fannin Jr. and now you bring in Kenyon Sadiq. Just getting more offensive weapons. I don't think it necessarily has to be a wide receiver. So getting a guy like Sadiq, who is a wide receiver-like player, but at the same time can run block very well, definitely works out for them. Now, trading back 2 spots and then up like 100? Wow. We're going to come back to that. Just look at what's available. Chris Johnson is available. This is corners. Now, looking at wide receiver-wise, Denzel Boston's still on the board. Getting you an X receiver to pair up with Jerry Jeudy is something that is very intriguing. Also, a guy like Chris Brazil. Let's see his testing. We're in a 4.37. I'm going to look at the testing. He did not run. He didn't have a great vert. I think Denzel Boston is a great player, but that vertical jump is kind of like his big thing, is being a jump ball receiver. Could definitely be the pick here. Could also be Chris Brazil. A guy like Antonio Williams, I think this is a bit early for him. And wouldn't fit well with Jerry Jeudy necessarily. A guy like Jeremy Bernard, I think, is kind of the same way. But you can make it work having those, like, the availability as of run blocking and willing to do anything, like Jeremy Bernard. Looking at the rest of the board, linebackers, edge rushers, Zion Young is available. Defensive tackle-wise, there's a lot of defensive tackles. Emmanuel McNeill-Warren. I'm going to accept this trade just to get that later pick. So Emmanuel McNeill-Warren is off the board. Not going to take that. So Emmanuel McNeill-Warren is off the board. Our next pick is pick 70. I think you can get a corner at pick 70. Wide receiver-wise, it's either you pick up the jump ball receiver or you pick up the deep threat. I think just based off of talent and like his play, I'm going to take Denzel Boston over Chris Brazil. So, I like the draft so far. Give me a second here and I'll come back. I'll skip it to the next pick. Alright. Skipping forward, now we are at pick 70. Looking at the draft, Lee Hunter, Caleb Banks, they're still available. That would really boost your interior defensive line. But based off their roster, they have a lot of defense. They have good defensive tackles there. Looking at the edge rusher, I don't like R. Mason Thomas for this Browns defense. Josh Josephs is kind of the same way. Deni Dennis Sutton I would like a little bit better. But a guy like Derek Moore I think would fit the best. So at 107 potentially, could look for him. Maybe look for a corner. Malik Muhammad, I really like Malik Muhammad. Looking at his testing, 4.42, great vertical, great broad jump, has all the height measurables. Looking at his traits, explosiveness, processing, his worst thing is support and technique. So obviously his footwork needs to be worked on. Also a guy like Tacario Davis. Do we get another 6'4" guy from Washington? Looking at his traits, his worst thing is hip fluidity and physicality and long speed and technique. So that's something to worry about. But a 4.41 at 6'4", do you pass on that? A guy who's guaranteed to play the outside, and if developed properly, can be very, very good. Linebacker wise, now looking back at the offensive line before we set on a pick. There, Connor Lew potentially. Connor Lew. I think we can wait for a guy like Trey Zune or Pat Coogan at center. Jalen Farmer, Jaden Roberts would be a guy I would really like to pick up as Jaden Roberts here. Drew Shelton. Demetrius Crownover. That would be a pick for them. That would be a good. He has a decent 10-yard split. Great size, great arm length. Would definitely be a good guy to bring in as a future replacement at left tackle. So far, looking at what we have, Fano, Sadiq, Boston. So you helped out wide receiver, tight end. You got Fano, who can play anywhere in the offensive line. Do we take a guy like Tacario Davis here? Don't risk him getting taken, and then look at the offensive line down the draft a little bit more. I think that's the way I'm going to take this. Taking Tacario Davis. I just think the Browns need a guy who can be the future at corner there, because I don't know how long Denzel Ward will be there, and overall just their corner room has lost some depth. You have Tyson Campbell there too, which I think I don't know if he's a complete long-term option at corner for them. Now we're coming up on pick 107, the 4th round pick. Let's see what's available. Brian Parker going kind of sucks. That would have been a good pick. Offensive line is a huge... Austin Barber would not be a bad pick. Guard-wise, Jaden Roberts. What's our next pick? 143, I believe? Or no, 110. I forgot that we got 110 in that deal. Do we go Austin Barber and Jaden Roberts? Or do we go defensive line-wise? Derek Moore's here. I think getting a guy like Derek Moore would definitely boost that defensive line that's already very elite with having Myles Garrett. Alright, I'm going to take Austin Barber here. Get another tackle in that room. And now at 110, I'm going to take Derek Moore. And then I'm going to pause the draft, look at what guards are available. Jaden Roberts. I'm going to wait until pick 125 with the Patriots and see, like, what did they already got a center. They got Maui Goa. I'm going to see if Jaden Roberts is taken before 125. If not, we are going to make a move to move up with the Patriots. Okay, Jaden Roberts is not taken. We're going to look to move up with New England. We're going to give up 146 for 125. This is a 19-pick jump. We probably have to give up a 4th round. Can we, based on this, a 5th round next year likely accepted? It's 50-50. We give up a 5th round pick next year to make a jump to go get a guard for the future in Jaden Roberts out of Alabama. I think he needs some work to start out his career, but definitely is a good pick to go build that future at the offensive line to help with any quarterback that is the future of the Browns, whether that's Shedeur or any other quarterback going forward. 149. Ooh, it's a good trade. Looking at the draft, though, do we take a guy like Garrett Nussmeier just to have a competition in that room? I think a guy like Cade Klubnik or Drew Aller. I think Drew Aller is going to shoot up boards just because of his ability to throw. He's a great deep ball. But Nussmeier, I think, is the more complete quarterback out of those three. Now he obviously doesn't have the size that every team would like. Like Klubnik is the same way. He's a bit smaller. Not saying 6'2" is small, but for a quarterback, a guy like Drew Aller who's 6'5", 235, that is very good size, especially with his arm length. Maybe we wait on Drew Aller. Maybe we take Drew Aller with pick... we don't have a pick that's going to be able to take him. And looking at the board... a guy like Torrin York. I really like... You lose Devin Bush. I really like that. Getting a guy like Torrin York. That would be... Let me make sure Harold Perkins is not gone yet. I don't believe he's this far down. Harold Perkins... Yeah, he went to the Saints at 136. So, yeah, I'm going to take Torrin York. Get another linebacker for that room. Just depth for now. And eventually be the guy alongside Carson Schwarzenegger. I think if by pick... Who has... Let's pause this real quick. Who has pick 200? The Panthers. I think we could look at pick 200, maybe a little further. Maybe like 210 with the Chiefs. To potentially move up to go get Drew Aller here. We got a while, so I'm going to skip forward. Alright, so, as it was going through the draft, Drew Aller was taken by Washington at pick 187. That's just too high for us to jump up. I considered jumping up for Garrett Nussmeier if he had fallen to pick 200, but that was just too high of a jump with what we have with pick 248 and having to give up future capital. Now we're here at pick 217, the first pick in the 7th round. Do we make a jump with Arizona to go get Cade Klubnik? About a 30-pick jump and give up our own 7th next year? That gets accepted. Feel free to do whatever you want with the trades. I don't know if that's value. Like, if you guys think that's the right value. Cole Payton. Just making sure real quick. Very good athlete. Very good. I think I've heard stuff about this guy as potentially being a guy to switch position. No, it's a different guy. But we're going to take Cade Klubnik here at 217, and that's going to round out the draft. I'll come back with the recap in a second here. All right. Overall, we have a very good draft, and this really between last year's draft and this year's draft has secured the future for this Cleveland Browns team. Going back to last year, they had one of the best young offensive drafts I have probably ever seen. Getting potentially your franchise quarterback in the 5th round, and then on top of that getting Harold Fannin Jr. and 2 running backs for that team. You also signed Isaiah Bond as an undrafted free agent. So you have potential there. Now going into this draft, you know you need to help your offensive line. You get Spencer Fano, you get Austin Barber, you get Jaden Roberts. The 3 guys who could play 3 premier positions on that offensive line that you need going forward. Then you take an offensive weapon in Kenyon Sadiq. Absolute steal. Then Denzel Boston, I think, is also another steal at 41. Is a guy, big jump ball receiver, 6'4". That's something that the Browns need going forward. Pick 70. Tacario Davis. It's more of like a future, like more of a project at this moment. At this exact moment, I think he's more of like a project to get like 1 to 2 years under his belt. Austin Barber's going to go in and be a guy next year. Derek Moore could step right in. I think can step right in and be a guy opposite of Myles Garrett. Jaden Roberts. He potentially would have to play right away, but I don't know how important that is depending on where Fano plays on the offensive line. Torrin York has great tape, phenomenal film. I don't know whether or not he definitely lacks size as a linebacker, but he makes up for that with the way he plays on the field. And then finally trading up for Cade Klubnik later on. Just a guy who can come in and compete with Shedeur and Dillon Gabriel. There's very high potential that he does not make the roster. Whether, because Deshaun Watson is there, he's competing with Shedeur for QB1. Dillon Gabriel is most likely going to be 2 or 3, and then Cade Klubnik will probably compete with Dillon Gabriel, and whoever does not make the roster, or whoever is not QB3 will most likely get cut, and potentially QB3 will be on the practice squad. So this is kind of a bad situation for Cade Klubnik, but it definitely could work. Also, getting that second round pick from New Orleans for next year's draft, which I believe is going to be an overall better value draft than this current year. So, overall, thank you guys for watching. I don't know if you guys made it through the whole video, skipped through. Who knows? But anyway, thank you guys. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Let's grow this channel. Hopefully, can get a lot more videos out. Should be posting every day. Getting a lot of videos out, one for every team. Doing the regular mock drafts, and I will see what happens after the draft. But thank you guys. Have a good one.